Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another brand new episode of this series that I'm starting here on my channel, a movie collection spotlight. It's basically just all of the things that I have in my collection and in certain sections that I want to show you guys because it's something I've been wanting to do for years. But before we get into what I have to show you today, I first want to say that you'll probably notice that things look a little bit different as opposed to my last stream, and that was because I went out and bought a brand new web camera because the one that is built into the MacBook Pro that I have is not very good. And it's not even that I have an older MacBook Pro, it's actually the 2018 model. So obviously basically a year old, but the webcam itself is still not very good. You would think after paying all of the premium pricing that you pay for a Mac, that at least the webcam would be pretty good. Unfortunately, that is not the case. It's only a 720p web camera when it comes to resolution. It obviously doesn't do things well when it comes to capturing light and capturing just the overall colors and things like that. This is somewhat better. I'm still working out the kinks on it. I pretty much just got it out of the box, just plugged it in, and essentially giving it a trial run right now. So I'm trying to work out, camera angles and centering and all of those things. I'm still trying to work out the whole lighting situation that I have is still not very good. It hasn't been very good pretty much since the beginning of my channel, so that's really nothing new. So please bear with me when it comes to all of those things. I tried to use the same light that I use for my regular movie reviews, and it's just way too blown out. It's actually not even a proper, studio lighting kit or anything like that. But until I get some proper lighting to where I can adjust the lighting and all that kind of stuff, this will do for now. But let's get into what I want to discuss today, and this is the kind of filmography of Paul Thomas Anderson. Luckily, he's again, like Quentin Tarantino, doesn't have a very large filmography, so it's very easy to collect. And also, almost all of his films have been collected on Blu-ray. His newest film, Phantom Thread, also has a 4K release, which I did not get, so that's kind of a spoiler coming up soon. But his first film, Hard 8, actually hasn't been collected in Blu-ray at all here in the United States. And it's really, really frustrating because I thought we would get this years ago. I thought Criterion would put this out years ago. One year, they put out this big collage like they like to do every year, and in it looked like to be a hint of Paul Thomas Anderson's Hard 8, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So all I have is an old used DVD edition, which I guess I might as well get out now because it is the first film in his filmography. He is someone who has been making films since the 1990s. He is notoriously one of those directors who never went to film school properly, or although he actually did go to film school, didn't really like it, so he decided to drop out, and basically he just started watching movies and listening to audio commentaries by directors, and that's kind of how he learned to be a filmmaker, at least initially. There's a whole backstory on that I think I'll probably end up going into one day on my podcast, Cinema Discovery Project, there is a link down below where we do spotlights of directors as well as movie genres and films and all those things. So I may get into that in more detail. He also is from the Sundance Institute, so that also plays into a lot of his background, if you will. But he is, in my opinion, one of my favorite current living directors. I think he's one of the best of the last 30 years because he is someone who throughout his filmography has been able to essentially make the films he's wanted to make. He hasn't had to kind of bow down or work with any studio to make the film that they want him to make. He's pretty much been a straight auteur director, and it's really refreshing to see that in a modern age where you get so much jumping back and forth with certain directors working for big studios, working for independents, and all this kind of stuff. He's pretty much stayed very consistent, and for me, his filmography is absolutely fantastic. I know that is all subjective and all of those things, but first up, before I go off on a tangent, let me show the DVD for Hard 8. It is a special edition DVD. This is his first film that was based off of one of his short film, I believe also titled Hard 8. It stars Philip Baker Hall, John C. Reilly, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Samuel L. Jackson. And this film came out in, I want to say, the mid-90s, or I want to say before Boogie Nights. So yeah, came out in 1996, just to place it in his overall oeuvre and to place it with an overall timetable. So this is the DVD, plain Plain as day packaging, nothing really special. Sorry, I'm bouncing it back and forth here, trying to avoid the glare, which kind of really sucks when it comes to this whole setup here. But as you can see, here it is. And as you can see, I paid $3.99 for used, which was a great price at the time. On the back here is just a list of details and all of those things that you're used to seeing. It also, of course, has the barcode up here as well. If you're interested in special features, man, it's an early DVD. I think this DVD came out in 1999 when special features weren't exactly at a premium. So here you have language English 2-channel surround, subtitles English Spanish, theatrical trailers, scene selections, a deleted scene called The Kiss, Sundance Institute Filmmaker Lab scenes, 2 filmmakers commentaries, full screen and widescreen format, new director approved transfer. As you can imagine, this was the days before widescreen became the dominant aspect ratio for home entertainment. This is also, as you can tell, rather plain Jane. I think it's also a flipper disc. Man, for those of you who aren't aware of what flipper discs are essentially the worst invention of all time when it comes to home video, at least when it comes to the DVD era of home video, because man, they were just awful. As you can imagine, absolute fingerprint, scratch magnet, dust magnet, everything that could possibly go wrong with flipper discs goes wrong with them. As you can see here, there's actually a nice insert, which is something you don't see. It all opens like a gatefold, and you get like all kind of stills from the movie. The movie revolves around gambling and all those kinds of things. As you can see here, just a lot of reading material as well, which is kind of refreshing. And on the back is the scene selections, which I mentioned. A lot of DVD releases came with scene selection sheets, as if you couldn't just do that in the menu itself. I don't know. Just something that's part of the era. So that is Hard 8. It's a really, really good film. Philip Baker Hall is probably one of the more underrated character actors of our time. If you don't know who Philip Baker Hall is, the chances are you've probably seen him in something and you weren't aware of who he was, because he's been in so many things. And this was, of course, a really early role for John C. Reilly, Gwyneth Paltrow, as well as Samuel L. Jackson. And this was after Pulp Fiction, right before Jackie Brown, which I talked about in my Quentin Tarantino video that I did last time. And next up is probably my favorite of his films, and probably the most famous of his films that really put him on the map. And this is Boogie Nights. This is a film with an astonishing cast, really just absolutely fantastic. And it's my favorite, like I said. It's my favorite for a lot of reasons. I think it's the film with the most depth. It's a film that really shows off his style when it comes to directing, and really shows off all of the influences that he took from a lot of older cinema, which is where he got a lot of his camera movement from. The long takes that he's known for, and just the cinematography in general, is a lot from old classic cinema. Look up the films of Max Ophuls. He got a lot from those films. The Earrings of Madame D is part of the Criterion Collection. I think he does a special feature on there where he talks about the influence of Max Ophuls on his career. But let's get into this here. On the back, if you're curious about special features, there actually are some nicer ones than were on the Hard 8 DVD. You get a few commentary tracks here. There's a commentary by director Paul Thomas Anderson. There's a commentary by Don Cheadle, Heather Graham, Louis Guzman, William H. Macy, Julianne Moore, John C. Reilly, Mark Wahlberg, and Melora Walters. As you can imagine, this is a star-studded cast. Also, Burt Reynolds was in this film, nominated for an Oscar, but did not win. He actually lost out to Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting, which is really fascinating to me, because that's one of my all-time films. So let's open this up here and see what we have. Oh my goodness. This is a relic from the past. It's the important notice of the Blu-ray disc to make sure that your firmware is up to date. Sorry once again about the glare. That's something I'm going to have to work on for next time. But basically, they would put these notices in Blu-ray cases back in the day because people didn't know how the new technology was. They didn't know how to treat Blu-ray players and whatnot. They weren't essentially. You need to have firmware updates because the technology was so new at the time that things were constantly updating, and some discs wouldn't work on some of the older software that was on the Blu-ray players. So they put this notice in to make sure that you connect to the internet and update your firmware, which is something that's kind of regular these days. It's also something that is still kind of happening with Blu-ray players as well as kind of streaming services when it comes to Roku's or Amazon Fire Sticks and things like that. You have to constantly update those things as well. So here we have just a plain Jane disc that is just a still from the movie, kind of a little lazy, but that's what you get. It's Julianne Moore and Mark Wahlberg embracing in a very intimate way. This film does have a lot of intimacy in it. It essentially takes place around the adult entertainment or porn industry in the 1970s, and also gets into kind of how it transitioned from the 70s to the 80s and how those things affected the industry and all those things. But it's also a film about family, or the search for family, the search for intimate connection, perhaps in all the wrong places. Probably one of Mark Wahlberg's most notorious and best acting performances, I would say, certainly of his young career. But next up is a film that is very long but very fantastic, and that is Magnolia. Magnolia is, one could say, perhaps Paul Thomas Anderson's magnum opus. I don't really know. It is definitely his longest film, I think, of his filmography. This is yet again another star-studded cast. You have Tom Cruise, John C. Reilly, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who was also in Boogie Nights. He has a much smaller role in there. Julianne Moore, William H. Macy. He does have a cast of actors and actresses that he kept using a lot during his career. Not so much now, but definitely early on in his career, which a lot of directors and filmmakers have done throughout their career. But let's take a look here on the back. The back is, basically the cast that I was just reading off is just the pictures that I was seeing, but that's essentially the back, the usual stuff. And also inside, let's see what we have here. I'm pretty sure it's going to be plain as all day. Yet again, another one of those notices of, keep your software up to date, your firmware up to date. Sorry. So let me just take that out because it's distracting and just that creates a lot of glare. This is the disc. That's the disc here, Magnolia. If you've never seen this film before, I highly recommend seeing it. It's one of those films that's just a cast of characters intertwining and in all different aspects. Really, absolutely fantastic. One of Tom Cruise's best performances, where he's kind of this masculine, like hype, like therapist guy who's basically telling men how to live a more masculine life and all these kinds of things, but he's got a whole shady past and his father is ill in the film. It's really absolutely fantastic. If you only know John C. Reilly for the comedies that he has done over the recent kind of 10 years of his career, he started out doing some drama and he's really, really good. Next up here is actually a Criterion Collection edition of a film not a lot of people talk about, but I really feel they should. And not just because it's Paul Thomas Anderson, but because it's a great film, and that is Punch Drunk Love. Punch Drunk Love is probably Adam Sandler's best performance and best film he's ever been in. And once again, it's another one of those actors like John C. Reilly, who you assume is just associated with, weird, comedy and all that kind of stuff. But once in a while, Adam Sandler brings out a really good, dramatic, grounded performance that is really, really good. Also, Emily Watson is in this film. She is absolutely fantastic. Also, once again, Philip Seymour Hoffman's in this film. He has a small role. He's a scene stealer, of course. Before I go into that, I completely forgot to say what the extras were on Magnolia. So let's rewind a little bit before we get into the packaging of the Criterion edition of Punch Drunk Love. Here we have Magnolia Video Diary covers the blossoming of a modern-day masterwork. Frank T.J. Mackey seminar. Frank T.J. Mackey is Tom Cruise's character. He's, like I said, a seminar speaker guy. Seduce and Destroy infomercial. Amy Mann Save Me music video. A music video, theatrical trailer, and TV spots. Another thing I want to mention, just because they brought up a music video, Paul Thomas Anderson has directed music videos before. His current short film is on Netflix, and it's actually, I believe, like a Netflix produced thing, or they're distributing, called Anima, and it's basically a music video. That's essentially what it is, and it's absolutely stunning and fantastic. So back to Punch Drunk Love. Let me show you the back here. If I get too close, that's seemingly where the glare is happening, so I'm gonna kind of stay back a little bit. Hopefully, you can still see that pretty well. Yeah, hopefully. But let's get into some of the special features. Director approved Blu-ray special edition features. Restored high definition transfer supervised by director Paul Thomas Anderson with 5.1 surround DTS master audio soundtrack. Blossoms and Blood, a short 2002 piece by Anderson featuring Adam Sandler and Emily Watson, along with music video by John Bryan. New interview with Bryan, new piece featuring behind-the-scenes footage of a recording session for the film's soundtrack. New conversation between curators Michael Connor and Leah. Oh boy, Giangitano about the art of Jeremy Blake used in the film. Additional artwork by Blake. Cannes Film Festival press conference from 2002. That's very interesting. NBC News interview from 2000 with David Phillips, the pudding guy. 12 scopitones, deleted scenes, Mattress Man commercial, trailers, plus an essay by filmmaker, author, and artist Miranda July. Okay, so let's open this up and take a gander. Once again, in typical Criterion Collection fashion, you have the disc as well as an insert. And I like kind of, I mean, basically all the discs from Criterion are kind of the plain Jane, with the C and the title, and it says Criterion Collection on it. So far, it works. So I'm not going to give them too much on it, because the real wealth of the Criterion editions is what's inside the disc. All those special features, plus the fantastic film, and also a really fantastic, insert at least. Sometimes they're booklets, sometimes they're inserts, sometimes they're fold-out things. It is a very thin booklet, as you can see here. Not very thick at all. There's a photo of Emily Watson, I believe from the film, inside, contrasting Adam Sandler. This is actually a really fantastic romance story. Really, really lovely. And it folds out like this. So I have to pull back here to get it all in. As you can see, once again, a lot of reading material here. Just let me fold that back up. Sorry once again if you couldn't really see it. I'm, just making things up as I go along here. The Indiana Jones style of, I guess, streaming, if you will. There is actually inner artwork, which I'm just noticing now. As you can see, I believe that's Adam Sandler's character on the telephone, sitting at a desk. Make sure I folded it properly. I'm a big fearful of those things, because I always end up folding them back the wrong way. So that was Punch Drunk Love. And next is, yet again, another one of his masterpieces, and that is a film many of you probably already know, There Will Be Blood, with one of the best actors of our time, Daniel Day-Lewis. This is a powerhouse performance. He is an oil man. He's a sociopath, power-hungry guy in this film, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I once owned this on DVDs. You'll probably see the DVD discs in here as well, because I did what I told you guys last time, is I decided to, get a bunch of blank cases of Blu-ray cases and basically combine the DVDs and the Blu-rays, because I didn't want to get rid of my DVDs that I already paid so much money for. I'll give you a closer look here on the front. I believe this is the poster for the film, or a poster for the film. If it's not, it really should be. Daniel Day-Lewis's name is across the top. And on the back here is a list of blurbs, as well as the description of the film, as well as, the usual credits here. Let me put it up to the camera just so you can see all of that. Yet again, this glare thing is a problem. It's becoming, I wonder if that's better. Slightly better. But you get the general gist of it. So opening it up here, it's actually a reversible cover, which I'll show you what the reversible cover is afterward. Here, the way I have it structured, it's a 3-disc case that I personally bought myself. And up the first thing that you see here is the Blu-ray disc, plain black artwork, nothing too shabby. This was put out by Paramount Pictures. Um, yeah, it looks really, really good. I'm really curious if this is going to get a 4K release sometime soon or in the future. So far, all the movies that I've showed you look really, really good on Blu-ray. You know, Hard 8's on DVD, so it doesn't look as good. Punch Drunk Love looks absolutely fantastic on Blu-ray. That was another one that I had upgraded from the DVD, and I think I just got rid of the DVD because by that point I wasn't doing the combo packs anymore. But as you can see here, here's the DVD that has the feature film as well as the extras. Feature film is here, the extras are here, and yeah, once again, plain black covering. And there's actually an insert here that's this here. And there's something on the back. Yeah, that's that. So I do want to show you that there is a reversible cover, and I kind of like the movie poster one a little bit more. The reversible cover, I think, is also a movie poster, so what do I know? But it's just Daniel Day-Lewis's character here, of Daniel Plainview. That was his character's name. Let me get into the special features, which I keep neglecting to say. And there aren't many on here. 15 minutes, pics, research, etc. for the making of There Will Be Blood. It's in HD. Also, the trailers are in HD. Fishing sequence in HD. Haircut interrupted him HD. Daly's Gone Wild HD. And then the story of Petroleum. That says circa 1923 in HD, black and white silent film chronicling the oil business in the 1920s, which is basically around when this takes place. A very, very fascinating historical fact about how oil's played a very big role in our country's history, especially economically. But that's a whole different podcast. Next up here is his film The Master, starring Joaquin Phoenix and the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, as well as Amy Adams. And this also has a reversible cover. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. But here's the front. Here's the back. Yet again, try not to get that glare, but it's a battle here. It's a battle of wills. Hopefully that shows up okay. All right, so opening up the inside, or should I do, you know what? Let me do the special features before I forget about them first. Okay, so special features. Hack Beyond. I think it says Hack Beyond, or, man, they really, really didn't do well on the font back here. Yeah, I think it says Hack Beyond, outtakes, additional scenes, music by Johnny Greenwood, unguided message, 8-minute short / behind the scenes, teasers and trailers, Let There Be Light, 1946, John Huston's landmark documentary about World War II veterans, which I believe runs 58 minutes. That's what it looks like. The top of the 5 is actually cut off, so I'm assuming 58 minutes. But this is a film that I believe is set post-World War II, dealing with PTSD and dealing with a veteran who's coming back, portrayed by Joaquin Phoenix, and he kind of gets caught up in this writer's kind of, it's not a cult, it's maybe a cult. It's basically a fictitious version of Scientology. That's kind of what this film is commenting on, is the Church of Scientology, and basically Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is the L. Ron Hubbard character, who's the founder of Scientology. That's basically what it is. I mean, that's the general gist I got from it. But let's open it up inside. Take a gander. Oh, good. A digital copy code that has long since been expired. And there's also a insert ad for award-winning performances. It's the King's Speech, The Iron Lady, and Marilyn. If you've never seen, My Week with Marilyn. If you've never seen My Week with Marilyn, starring the great Michelle Williams, you're in for a treat, because that movie is absolutely fantastic. Her performance, at least, is absolutely fantastic. Stunning in that film. Coincidentally, I have 2 out of 3 of those films. I don't have The Iron Lady, mostly for political reasons, but who knows, one day I may get added to the collection, because I just can't help myself for certain completist sake when it comes to the films of Meryl Streep, another fantastic actress. What you also have here is an insert that is a postcard, and it's basically the photo that's in the back of the book that the Philip Seymour Hoffman character writes in this film. That's what it looks like when you see those author pictures on the back of these big hardcovers. You get photos like this, very nonchalant, very cool photos. This was I think this was a Blu-ray DVD combo pack. It doesn't say specifically, but I have a DVD inside, and I know I definitely by this point was straight up buying Blu-rays. I wasn't buying DVDs anymore. Once you kind of transitioned over to Blu-rays, buying DVDs not really something you did. Here you have on the you'll notice there's the DVD, there's the Blu-ray. Once again, another picturesque picture of Philip Seymour Hoffman as his L. Ron Hubbard type character. This is an absolutely fantastic film. This is a masterwork, in my opinion, amongst many masterworks. It's a heavy drama, but it's a fantastic drama. It's a very weird film. The character of Joaquin Phoenix isn't exactly likable in this film. He's kind of got something wrong with him in his head, but the back and forth between he and Philip Seymour Hoffman, the back and forth between Philip Seymour Hoffman and Amy Adams, really masterfully well done when it comes to acting. That's the one thing I can say about all of Paul Thomas Anderson's films is they're all masterfully acted and also masterfully well directed. Technically, absolutely stunning work when it comes to cinematography and editing and screenplay and dialogue. Just absolute fantastic work. Next up is one of his more divisive films, and I say that as someone who really likes this film, but I definitely understand how it's not the film for everyone. It's also a film that is really weird. It's kind of a drug-fueled fever neo-noir from the 70s, which plot is kind of all over the place. There's an investigation and all these kind of stuff. You kind of have to watch it to really understand. It is based on a novel by Thomas Pynchon, written for the screen and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. Here you have just a trippy cover, so you kind of get the gist of just how weird the film is. I really love that coloring of the cover. It really pops that neon, weird 1970s, lushness. Or kind of not really lushness. It's more like, fake stuff. Here's the back. Once again, glare is rearing its ugly head. I wish I could fix that, but I'm not really going to mess with it right now, right in the middle of this video. But before we get inside, let me see what the special features are. Once again, the font is not helping me. I think it says Lost Paramore, Shasta Fe, The Golden Fang, Everything in This Dream. I have no idea what any of that means, but that's what's listed under the back here. Or is that just, yeah, you know what it is? They're special trailers. That's what it says, special trailers, and that's what's written. I have no idea what that means. I really should rewatch this film and give that a look. But slipcover coming off, same artwork, same exact backing. The usual stuff, blurbs and all this kind of stuff. But we open it up here. We get, once again, a digital copy code that is unusable. It's something that I never use. And this is also a DVD and Blu-ray combo, which are really nice. One thing I'm going to probably say while going through all of these videos and all these different collections that I have is that I really miss the DVD Blu-ray combos. I really do. You just kind of got more for your money. This is once again, plain black cover art for the discs. This is kind of Warner Brothers' go-to, is just plain black covers. They really don't do anything special. I do want to take these discs out because this looks like there's inner artwork. I can't remember if I showed you guys the reversible cover for the master. But I may do that now. This is also the eco-friendly casing, which I absolutely hate for many reasons. One being that we're going to spend all this money on these releases, I want to make sure that when I'm buying, it's not going to get damaged easily. And one thing with these eco cases is they're rather brittle, and their most vulnerable and brittle parts are around the discs. The most important part of anything, and that was just me the dropping the slipcover for Inherent Vice. I'll get that later. We don't need to stop the broadcast for that. Let me see. I know. Oh no, I did not show you guys this. No, there you have the reversible cover of the Master. Just going back to that, and here we have his most recent film, and this is the Blu-ray, DVD, and digital edition of Phantom Thread. This film I actually saw in theaters. I think it's actually the only Paul Thomas Anderson film I've ever seen in theaters, which was really a delight for me. Seeing his film on the big screen was just absolutely an experience because his films are just so masterfully well done. Here is the back. Once again, we have awful, awful glare. And there is a 4K UHD edition of this. And I think the reason why I didn't buy it is because this was on sale and I really, really wanted it right away. Didn't want to wait for the 4K edition to come to drop in price. Or this was something that was really weird that was happening recently, is that the 4K editions of certain movies would not be coming out at the same time as its counterparts. Yeah, that's what happened in this situation. The Blu-ray, which is this here, came out April 10th, 2018, and May 8th, 2018 was when the 4K one came out. That's just a weird thing to me. You think these things are manufactured at the same time, but the film still looks absolutely fantastic, so there's nothing to worry about there. The cinematography is absolutely fantastic. The quality of this is fantastic. All these Blu-rays, I'm nearly not critiquing when it comes to the audio and video qualities because they're all relatively new releases. Although I would really like probably a new release of There Will Be Blood. Like I said, a new 4K remaster would make that film look really, really good. The others, perhaps not so much. Perhaps Boogie Nights would look great. Magnolia, perhaps so. Well, Magnolia is mostly shot in the dark and in shadows and things like that, so I'm not sure about that. But the popping of the colors for Boogie Nights in 4K would look fantastic. But that's Boogie Nights. This is Phantom Thread. This is, of course, starring Daniel Day-Lewis once again, and this is a film that is breathtakingly well acted, and the thematic depth in this film is off the charts. This is just a masterwork of a film. Great screenplay. Johnny Greenwood's music in this movie is absolutely fantastic. So let's open this up here. You'll also notice it's a white case, which you don't see very often with Blu-rays. Once again, a digital copy code that looks like it's been expired. It most definitely is. And yes, here we have the DVD and the Blu-ray. Just let me flip them around because it's literally upside down. Here you have them here. Once again, black casing seems to be all the rage these days. Black discs seem to be all the rage these days. See what happens? I tried to make a joke and can't land it in one take. So, that is all of the films of Paul Thomas Anderson that I have in my collection. That is his entire theatrical filmography as of right now. He has a lot of video shorts, a lot of short films, things like that I don't know where they're collected. I want to say some of them perhaps are on YouTube. Some of them are extras on these discs like we've read about. So he's someone who takes a lot of time when it comes to making his films. He is a true auteur of our time. Years ago, Ben Affleck, when he was winning all those awards for Argo, said that, he is the Orson Welles of our time. And I've always really liked that quote because Orson Welles was someone who was also an auteur, but he was someone who never really got to make a lot of his films the way he wanted to make them. He was always, shackled by the studio system. The studio system would always mess with him. But Paul Thomas Anderson, decades and decades later, has been able to make all of the films that he's wanted to make. And in my opinion, I think they're all fantastic. They do differ in quality, and there's certain, things and issues that each of them have and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the only one that I've done a real in-depth review of has been Phantom Thread because it came out 2017. And I was already a year into this channel, but I can definitely highly recommend Paul Thomas Anderson's films. He's not a mainstream director, so he's not someone who I would recommend to everyone. Really have to appreciate a certain type of film, a certain dramatic type of film. And he does float from different genres, but typically he stays in the dramatic realm. He did, Punch Drunk Love is a romance story. There are, of course, dark comedic things in other ways, but he mostly drama. But his films are really, really well made. If I can, put an overall exclamation point on my feelings about Paul Thomas Anderson, a master craftsman when it comes to being a filmmaker. So, with all of that being said, please go and check out the other videos on my channel. Tell me what you think about the new webcam quality. Please tell me what you think about this video series that I'm going to start doing more frequently, because it's basically just me doing what I love to do, and that's talk about different movie releases. So until next time, see ya.